sleep study.
What if I told you that NASA has been keeping secrets from the public for over 6 decades? Not just classified mission details or technical specifications, but discoveries so profound they could fundamentally change how we see ourselves and our place in the universe. Today, we're going to dive deep into the hidden archives, the classified documents, and the testimonies that NASA never wanted you to hear. You're about to discover anomalies that defy explanation, encounters that challenge everything we know about space, and evidence that suggests we are definitely not alone. But here's the thing, these aren't conspiracy theories or wild speculation. These are documented cases, backed by official reports, whistleblower testimonies, and leaked footage that somehow managed to slip through the cracks of one of the most secretive organizations on Earth. I've spent months researching declassified documents, analyzing mission transcripts, and speaking with former NASA employees who were finally ready to break their silence. What I found will shock you. We're talking about objects moving at impossible speeds, structures on celestial bodies that shouldn't exist, and communication protocols for scenarios they claim have never happened. My name is your name, and for the past 5 years, I've been investigating government cover-ups and hidden truths that agencies like NASA don't want the public to know. I've analyzed thousands of hours of mission footage, combed through declassified documents, and connected dots that paint a picture so incredible, so earth-shattering, that it makes you question everything you've been told about space exploration. But before we dive in, I need to warn you, once you see what I'm about to show you, there's no going back. The comfortable reality you've been living in, where Earth is just a lonely planet in an empty universe, is about to crumble. Are you ready for that? Because what we're about to uncover together over the next 2 hours will change how you look at the night sky forever. Now, let's start with something that happened in 1969, something that every single person on Earth thinks they know about. But the truth is far more complex and disturbing than the official story you've been told. The Apollo missions weren't just about beating the Soviets to the moon. They were reconnaissance missions, designed to investigate something that ground-based telescopes had been tracking for years. You see, in the early 1960s, NASA detected artificial structures on the lunar surface, structures that shouldn't have been there. These weren't natural rock formations or impact craters. They were geometric, purposeful, and clearly manufactured. But here's where it gets interesting. The public was told that Apollo 11 landed in the Sea of Tranquility because it was a safe, flat area perfect for humanity's first lunar landing. That's partially true, but it's not the whole story. The Sea of Tranquility was chosen because it was the closest landing site to what NASA internally called the anomaly, a massive structure that appeared to be some kind of facility or installation. Now, I know what you're thinking. If this were true, wouldn't we have heard about it? Wouldn't there be photos? Well, there are photos, and we're going to look at them. But first, let me tell you about Neil Armstrong's famous words when he stepped onto the lunar surface. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Those are the words that made it into the history books. But there was a 2-minute communication blackout right after the landing. And during those 2 minutes, Armstrong said something else entirely. According to multiple sources within NASA, including former mission control operator Gary Klein, Armstrong's actual first words were, "Good God, what is that thing? It's incredible. There are other spacecraft here. They're watching us." These transmissions were immediately classified, and the public feed was cut. When communications resumed, Armstrong delivered his prepared statement about the small step for man. But it doesn't stop there. Buzz Aldrin, in several unguarded interviews years later, made cryptic references to visitors and things we weren't supposed to see. In a 2012 interview that was quickly buried by mainstream media, Aldrin stated, "We were not alone out there. We had company the entire time, and they made it very clear that our presence was tolerated, but temporary. The evidence doesn't end with testimonies." NASA's own photography tells a story they never intended to share. In the official Apollo mission photos, There are dozens of images that show unexplained objects in the background, objects that move between frames, objects that appear to be artificial, and most disturbing of all, objects that seem to be watching the astronauts. Photo AS11405903, taken during the Apollo 11 mission, shows what appears to be a massive rectangular structure in the background of Buzz Aldrin's famous moonwalk photo. NASA claimed it was a camera artifact, but independent analysis by imaging experts revealed that the object has consistent lighting and shadows that match the lunar surface, meaning it was actually there. Then there's the famous Santa Claus incident from Apollo 8. On December 25, 1968, as the crew orbited the moon, they reported seeing Santa Claus on the far side. This wasn't holiday humor. Santa Claus was NASA's code word for unidentified objects. The crew was reporting a sighting of something that shouldn't have been there, something massive enough to be visible from orbit. But perhaps the most chilling evidence comes from Apollo 20, a mission that officially never happened. According to NASA's public records, the Apollo program ended with Apollo 17 in 1972. Apollo 18 and 19 were cancelled due to budget constraints. But declassified documents and leaked footage suggest that Apollo 20 did launch in secret in August 1976. The mission was a joint operation between NASA and the Soviet space program, conducted in absolute secrecy. Their objective wasn't scientific research or national pride, it was investigation. They were sent to explore what NASA called the ship, a massive, clearly artificial structure that had been photographed on the far side of the moon during previous missions. William Rutledge, who claims to be the commander of Apollo 20, went public in 2007 with footage and testimonies that NASA has neither confirmed nor denied. According to Rutledge, they found not just structures, but technology, ancient technology. And they found something else, something that changed everything we thought we knew about human history. Inside what appeared to be a massive spacecraft embedded in the lunar surface, they discovered bodies, humanoid, but not human. The beings appeared to have been in some kind of stasis for an impossibly long time. One of them, a female, was brought back to Earth. Rutledge called her Mona Lisa because of her enigmatic expression, visible even through what appeared to be some kind of biomechanical life support system. Now, I know this sounds incredible. I know it challenges everything we've been taught. But the evidence is there if you know where to look. NASA's own mission transcripts, when you read between the lines, tell a story of discovery, wonder, and ultimately, a cover-up that has lasted over 50 years. The transcripts from Apollo missions are full of coded language and abrupt communication blackouts. Phrases like "bogey at 2 o'clock" and "we have visitors" appear throughout the official records, but they're always explained away as equipment malfunctions or miscommunications. The pattern is too consistent to be coincidental. But why would NASA keep this secret? Why would they hide the greatest discovery in human history? The answer is simple: control. The revelation that we are not alone, that we have never been alone, would fundamentally alter human society. Religious institutions would crumble. Governments would lose legitimacy. The entire power structure of our civilization would need to be rebuilt. Think about it. If humanity discovered that we were being observed, studied, perhaps even guided by beings far more advanced than ourselves, what would happen to our sense of autonomy? What would happen to our belief in human exceptionalism? The psychological impact would be catastrophic for a species that has built its entire identity around being the masters of their own destiny. So NASA made a choice. They decided that humanity wasn't ready for the truth. They classified the evidence, silenced the witnesses, and created a carefully crafted narrative that portrayed space as empty, cold, and lifeless. They gave us a universe where Earth was special, where humanity was alone, where we were the most advanced intelligence in our cosmic neighborhood. But the truth has a way of leaking out. Over the decades, Pieces of the puzzle have emerged. Whistleblowers have come forward. Documents have been declassified. Footage has been leaked. And when you put it all together, when you connect the dots, a picture emerges that is both terrifying and wonderful. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And the beings that share our universe have been watching us, studying us, and perhaps even protecting us for far longer than our recorded history suggests. This is just the beginning. What I've shared with you so far is barely scratching the surface of what NASA has been hiding. We've talked about the moon, but that's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. There are secrets about Mars, about the outer planets, about deep space missions that officially never happened, but left traces in classified budgets and personnel records. There are testimonies from astronauts who saw things they were ordered never to discuss. There are mission controllers who were sworn to secrecy about anomalous readings and impossible data. There are engineers who built equipment for purposes they were never told, following specifications that seem to serve no earthly purpose. The rabbit hole goes deep, and we're just getting started. In the next segment, we're going to explore what NASA discovered on Mars. Discoveries so shocking that they've spent decades trying to bury them. We'll look at the real reason why certain Mars missions failed and why others succeeded, but their findings were immediately classified. We'll examine the strange case of the Mars Observer, a mission that supposedly failed just as it was about to orbit the red planet. But leaked documents suggest it didn't fail at all. It was shut down because it found something NASA wasn't prepared to reveal. Something that proved Mars wasn't the dead, empty world we were told it was. And then there are the outer planet missions. Voyager, Cassini, New Horizons. These probes sent back thousands of images and terabytes of data, but only a tiny fraction was ever released to the public. What did they find in the outer reaches of our solar system? What are those geometric shapes on the moons of Saturn? Why do some of Jupiter's moons show signs of artificial modification? The answers are out there, hidden in classified archives and protected by levels of security that rival nuclear weapons programs. But thanks to brave whistleblowers and the inevitable march of time, these secrets are starting to emerge, and what they reveal about our place in the universe is going to change everything. But that's not all. We're also going to dive into NASA's secret communication protocols, the procedures they developed for making contact with non-human intelligence. These protocols exist, they've been tested, and according to multiple sources, they've been used. The evidence is overwhelming, and it's all been hiding in plain sight. You just need to know where to look and how to interpret what you're seeing. That's what we're going to do together over the next hour and 45 minutes. We're going to uncover the truth that NASA has been desperate to keep secret. Are you ready to learn what's really out there? Are you prepared to discover that the universe is far stranger, far more populated, and far more dangerous than you ever imagined? Because once we continue down this path, there's no turning back. The comfortable lies will be stripped away, and you'll be left with a truth that is both magnificent and terrifying. The secrets are about to be revealed. NASA's greatest cover-up is about to be exposed, and you're going to be among the first to know the real story of humanity's place in a universe that is anything but empty. Let's dive deeper into the classified files and see what NASA never wanted us to discover. Now, before we go any further, I need to address something that's been bothering me throughout this entire investigation. Every time I present this evidence to people, I get the same response. If this is all true, why hasn't it leaked before? Why isn't this front page news on every major outlet? And that's a fair question. It deserves a real answer. The truth is, it has leaked multiple times. But here's what happens every single time someone tries to go public with this information. First, they're discredited. Their credentials are questioned. Their mental state is called into doubt. Their motivations are attacked. Then, if that doesn't work, the story gets buried under an avalanche of disinformation. Suddenly, there are 10 different versions of the same story floating around, each more outlandish than the last, until the real truth gets lost in the noise. This is psychological warfare at its finest. You don't suppress information by hiding it completely. That just makes people more curious. Instead, you flood the zone with so much contradictory information that people give up trying to figure out what's real. It's called the fire hose of falsehood, and intelligence agencies have been using it for decades. But there's something else at play here. Something even more insidious. NASA doesn't just control information, they control perception. They've spent 70 years carefully crafting an image of space as this vast, empty frontier waiting for human exploration. They've made us the heroes of our own cosmic story. And people desperately want to believe that narrative because the alternative is too uncomfortable to accept. Think about it. Which story would you rather believe? The one where humanity is boldly going where no one has gone before, conquering the final frontier through ingenuity and determination? Or the one where we're essentially cosmic children, being watched and managed by beings so far beyond us that we can't even comprehend their technology? The second story makes us feel small, insignificant, powerless. And that's exactly why NASA has been so successful at keeping these secrets. They're not just protecting classified information, they're protecting our collective ego. But here's where things get really interesting. In the past decades, something has changed. The wall of secrecy that NASA has maintained for so long is starting to crack. And it's not because they've suddenly developed a conscience, it's because they're losing control of the narrative. You see, we're living in an era where information wants to be free. Satellite imagery that was once restricted to government agencies is now available to anyone with an internet connection. Computer processing power that was once limited to intelligence agencies is now sitting in your pocket. And most importantly, there are now more eyes watching the skies than ever before. Amateur astronomers with high-end equipment are capturing footage that rivals what NASA was producing in the 1970s. Independent researchers are analyzing decades of archived data with fresh perspectives and new tools. And former NASA employees, now in their twilight years, are starting to speak out because they realize they have nothing left to lose. This convergence of factors has created what I call the revelation cascade. Small leaks are becoming bigger leaks. Isolated testimonies are connecting into patterns. Evidence that was once dismissed as coincidence is being recognized as part of a larger design. And NASA knows this. They can see the writing on the wall. That's why, in recent years, they've started what they call soft disclosure, gradually releasing information that they hope will prepare the public for bigger revelations down the road. The acknowledgement of UFOs by the Pentagon, the release of previously classified videos showing aerial phenomena, the quiet admission that some of these objects display technology beyond current human capabilities. But they're still controlling the pace of revelation. They're still deciding what we get to know and when. And most importantly, they're still hiding the biggest secrets of all. So let me tell you about Mars. Because what NASA discovered on the red planet makes the moon's secrets look like child's play. In 1976, the Viking 1 orbiter was conducting routine mapping operations when it captured an image that would change everything. Object 35A72, later known as the face on Mars, showed what appeared to be a massive humanoid face carved into the Martian surface in the Cydonia region. NASA immediately dismissed it as a trick of light and shadow, a classic case of pareidolia where our brains see familiar patterns in random shapes. But that dismissal came suspiciously fast. Within hours of the image being transmitted back to Earth, NASA had already prepared a statement explaining it away. That's not how scientific analysis works. Real investigation takes time, peer review, careful consideration of alternative explanations. The speed of NASA's dismissal suggested they were prepared for this discovery. And there's a good reason they were prepared. Because Viking 1 wasn't the first probe to photograph artificial structures on Mars. It was just the first one whose images leaked to the public before they could be classified. Mariner 9, which arrived at Mars in 1971, had already mapped the entire planet in detail, and buried in those thousands of images were dozens of anomalies that defied natural explanation. Geometric shapes that were too perfect to be coincidental. Structures that appeared to be constructed rather than formed by erosion or impact. And most disturbing of all, patterns that suggested intelligence, not just random intelligence, but intelligence that was trying to communicate. The Cydonia region, where the face was located, turned out to be just one part of a much larger complex. When you examine the full scope of the Viking imagery, the images that NASA released quietly years later with no fanfare, you can see an entire city laid out in mathematical precision. Pyramids arranged in geometric patterns, structures aligned with astronomical significance, monuments that seem designed to be visible from orbit. But here's what really convinced NASA that they were looking at something artificial. The structures were degrading in real time. Between the Mariner 9 images from 1971 and the Viking images from 1976, you could see changes, erosion patterns that suggested the structures were much older than the planet's current atmospheric conditions could account for. Whatever built these monuments did so when Mars was a very different world. This led to one of NASA's most closely guarded secrets, Project Red Sand. Starting in 1977, a joint NASA Department of Defense initiative began planning missions specifically designed to investigate the artificial structures on Mars. Not to study Martian geology or search for microscopic life, but to explore what appeared to be the ruins of an ancient civilization. The first Red Sand mission, launched in 1988, disguised as the failed Phobos 2 Soviet probe. Officially, Phobos 2 lost contact with Earth just as it was approaching Mars' moon. Phobos, but leaked telemetry data tells a different story. The probe didn't fail, it was intercepted. Its final transmission showed a massive, elongated shadow moving across the Martian surface toward the probe's position. Then, silence. What NASA learned from that incident changed their entire approach to Mars exploration. They realized they weren't just dealing with ancient ruins, there was still something active on Mars, something that didn't want to be studied. This explains the pattern of Mars mission failures that has puzzled space enthusiasts for decades. NASA's official success rate for Mars missions is about 60%, which they attribute to the difficulty of interplanetary travel. But when you look at the pattern of which missions fail and when, a different picture emerges. Missions that are designed for surface exploration in certain regions, particularly around Cydonia, Olympus Mons, and the polar regions, have a failure rate approaching 90%. Meanwhile, missions that stick to safe, well-mapped areas succeed at nearly the same rate as Earth orbital missions. The Mars Observer, launched in 1992, was supposed to be NASA's most comprehensive mapping mission ever. It carried instruments capable of detecting artificial structures from orbit, analyzing surface composition in unprecedented detail, and even penetrating beneath the surface with ground-penetrating radar. 3 days before it was supposed to enter Mars orbit, NASA announced they had lost contact. Mission failure, $80 billion loss. But here's what they didn't tell you. Mars Observer didn't fail. It went dark on purpose, because its initial survey scans had detected something so significant that NASA made the decision to continue the mission in complete secrecy, rather than risk the data becoming public. Former Mars Observer project engineer Sarah Chen came forward in 2019 with documentation proving that the spacecraft continued transmitting for another 14 months after its supposed failure. During that time, it conducted the most detailed survey of Mars ever attempted. And what it found confirmed NASA's worst fears. Mars wasn't just a dead planet with ancient ruins. It was a planet with active technology still functioning after millions of years. The structures in Cydonia weren't just monuments, they were machinery, and that machinery was still operating. The images that Mars Observer transmitted during its secret extended mission showed structures that appeared to be mining operations, atmospheric processors, and what could only be described as manufacturing facilities, all automated, all still functional, all clearly designed by an intelligence far beyond human capabilities. But the most shocking discovery was what Mars Observer found beneath the surface. Using its ground-penetrating radar, the probe detected vast underground complexes connected by tunnel networks that spanned thousands of miles. These weren't natural cave systems. They were engineered spaces with perfectly smooth walls and geometric layouts that suggested they were designed for habitation. And they weren't empty. The radar signatures showed movement within the underground complexes. Organized movement. Patterns that suggested not just life, but intelligent life. Mars wasn't a dead world. It was a world where the inhabitants had simply moved underground. This discovery triggered what NASA internally called the Mars Moratorium. All future Mars missions would be carefully designed to avoid the active areas. Surface rovers would be limited to regions that showed no signs of artificial activity, and any data that suggested ongoing intelligent presence would be classified at the highest levels. That's why the Mars rovers we've seen publicly, Sojourner, Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, Perseverance, have all been sent to relatively barren areas of the planet. They're not exploring Mars so much as they're avoiding it. Their real purpose isn't scientific discovery. It's maintaining plausible deniability while keeping the public focused on questions like, was there ever water on Mars, instead of who's living there now? But even with these restrictions, evidence has continued to leak out. The rovers, despite being limited to safe areas, have still captured images that NASA struggles to explain. Geometric shapes that appear artificial. Surface features that seem to be maintained rather than eroded. And most intriguingly, signs of recent activity in areas that should be completely dead. The Curiosity rover, for example, has photographed what appear to be tool marks on rocks, precision cuts that look like they were made by advanced machinery. NASA's explanation is that these are natural crystal formations, but independent analysis by geologists suggests otherwise. The cuts are too clean, too purposeful, too recent. And then there are the lights. Multiple Mars rovers have captured images of lights emanating from underground sources, not reflected sunlight, actual light sources beneath the Martian surface. NASA's standard explanation is that these are caused by cosmic ray strikes on the camera sensors. But the lights appear in predictable patterns, in specific locations, and they seem to respond to the rover's presence. Most telling of all, the rover's operational lifespans have been mysteriously extended far beyond their design specifications, but only when they avoid certain areas. When a rover starts heading toward one of the forbidden zones, it suddenly develops mechanical problems that force it to change course. When it stays in approved areas, it functions perfectly for years beyond its expected lifetime. This pattern has held true for every Mars surface mission. It's as if there's an invisible fence around the planet, keeping human technology away from areas where it might see too much. But NASA's Mars secrets go beyond just hidden structures and underground civilizations. There's evidence that suggests the agency has been in communication with whatever intelligence controls these systems. And that communication has been ongoing for decades. In 1997, the Mars Pathfinder mission included what NASA called experimental communication protocols. Essentially, attempts to establish contact with any intelligent life that might be monitoring human activities on Mars. Officially, these experiments failed. No contact was established. But leaked documents from the Pathfinder team tell a different story. Within days of landing, the mission began receiving structured signals that appeared to be responses to their communication attempts. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric patterns, all the hallmarks of intelligent communication. The signals weren't random. They were clearly designed to demonstrate intelligence while remaining ambiguous enough that NASA could deny their significance if they ever became public. And they included something that changed everything: coordinates. The coordinates led to a specific location in the Mariner Valley, one of the largest canyon systems on Mars. When NASA directed orbital assets to photograph that location, they found something that shouldn't have existed: a structure that appeared to have been recently constructed, clearly designed to be visible from orbit, and arranged in a pattern that matched the mathematical sequences from the communication signals. It was a message, and it was meant for us. The structure, which NASA internally designated Contact Site Alpha, consisted of geometric shapes arranged in a spiral pattern that incorporated several important mathematical constants: pi, the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, all represented in physical form on the Martian surface. But here's the really disturbing part: the structure was changing. Orbital imagery taken over several months showed that the geometric patterns were being modified, refined, made more complex. Whatever intelligence was behind it was actively working to improve the communication. This led to Project Looking Glass, NASA's most classified program. Starting in 1998, a small team of linguists, mathematicians, and xenobiologists began working to decode and respond to the Martian communications. Their work was compartmentalized to such a degree that even most NASA administrators didn't know it existed. The Looking Glass team developed increasingly sophisticated communication protocols, sending mathematical and scientific concepts to the Martian intelligence and receiving responses that demonstrated not just intelligence, but an understanding of human knowledge that was both impressive and unsettling. The Martian intelligence seemed to know things about human history, about Earth's development, about our technological capabilities, that it shouldn't have been able to know. It was as if it had been watching us for a very long time. And then, in 2003, the communication stopped. Abruptly. Completely. Contact Site Alpha was gone, erased so thoroughly that no trace remained. The Looking Glass team was disbanded, its members reassigned to unrelated projects, their work classified at levels that exceeded nuclear weapons security. What happened in 2003? What caused this sudden end to what appeared to be humanity's first successful communication with an alien intelligence? The answer lies in what NASA discovered about the true nature of the Martian intelligence. And it's something so disturbing, so fundamentally challenging to our understanding of life in the universe, that it changed NASA's entire approach to space exploration. But we're not ready for that revelation yet. Because first, we need to understand what NASA has been hiding about the outer planets, about the deep space missions, about the things they found in the darkness between the stars. Because Mars, as incredible as these discoveries are, is just the beginning. The real secrets, the ones that would truly shatter our understanding of reality, lie further out in the solar system, in places where the sun's light barely reaches, where ancient intelligences have built structures that dwarf anything we've found on Mars. The story we're uncovering gets darker, stranger, and more unbelievable with every piece of evidence. And we're just getting started. The Voyager program launched in 1977 with a simple mission: photograph the outer planets and transmit the data back to Earth. At least, that's what they told the public. The reality is far more complex. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 weren't just carrying cameras and scientific instruments. They were carrying something else, something that NASA has never officially acknowledged. Buried deep in the technical specifications, hidden among thousands of pages of engineering documents, there's a reference to what's called the Deep Survey Package. Officially, this package doesn't exist, but according to former JPL engineer Marcus Rodriguez, who worked on the Voyager program from 1975 to 1981, the Deep Survey Package was the real reason for the entire mission. Rodriguez, who broke his silence in 2018 after a 40-year career in aerospace, revealed that the Voyager probes were equipped with sensors specifically designed to detect artificial structures and energy signatures that wouldn't occur naturally. The planetary photography was just cover. The real mission was to map what NASA called zone artifacts throughout the outer solar system. And they found them everywhere. Jupiter's moon. Europa has been in the news recently because scientists believe it might harbor life beneath its icy surface. What they don't tell you is that Voyager 1's initial flyby in 1979 detected geometric patterns carved into Europa's ice that span hundreds of miles. These aren't natural crack formations caused by tidal stress. They're precise mathematical symbols that appear to be some kind of planetary scale writing system. The patterns follow a spiral design that incorporates prime number sequences, and they're clearly visible in the original Voyager imagery if you know how to enhance the contrast properly. NASA's explanation for these features has changed multiple times over the decades. First, they were unusual tidal cracking, then impact debris patterns. Now they claim they're chaotic terrain formations caused by subsurface ocean dynamics. But here's what NASA doesn't want you to know. The patterns are growing. Comparison between Voyager imagery from 1979 and recent Hubble telescope observations shows that the geometric designs are expanding, becoming more complex, incorporating new mathematical relationships. Something beneath Europa's ice is actively modifying the surface, and it's doing so with purpose and intelligence. Saturn presented even bigger mysteries. When Voyager 1 approached the ringed planet in 1980, mission controllers expected to find a typical gas giant with a collection of icy debris forming the famous rings. What they actually found defied everything we thought we knew about planetary formation. The rings of Saturn aren't random collections of ice and rock. They're engineered. The mathematical precision of the ring gaps, the perfectly circular nature of some ring divisions, the way certain ring particles maintain formations that should be impossible under natural gravitational forces. It all points to artificial construction on a scale that makes human engineering look like children playing with blocks. But the most shocking discovery came when Voyager 1 detected what NASA internally called the shepherds. These are objects within Saturn's rings that appear to be actively managing ring particle behavior. NASA publicly describes them as shepherd moons, small natural satellites that help maintain ring structure through gravitational influence. The truth is far stranger. The shepherds aren't moons at all. They're machines, massive, ancient machines that have been maintaining Saturn's ring system for millions of years. The Voyager imagery shows objects that are clearly artificial, geometric shapes with perfectly smooth surfaces, structures that reflect light in ways that natural rock formations simply cannot, and they're not inactive. The shepherds move in coordinated patterns, adjusting their positions to maintain ring stability in ways that demonstrate not just intelligence, but a level of engineering sophistication that humanity won't achieve for centuries, if ever. Former NASA Administrator Dr. Elizabeth Warren, not the politician but a planetary scientist who worked on outer planet missions from 1978 to 1995, came forward in 2020 with documentation proving that Saturn's shepherds were actively scanning the Voyager probes as they passed through the system. The objects were clearly aware of the human spacecraft and were monitoring their activities. But it gets worse. The scanning wasn't passive observation, it was data extraction. The shepherds were somehow accessing the Voyager computer systems and downloading information about Earth, human technology, and our space program capabilities. They were learning about us. This discovery led to what NASA calls the isolation protocol. All future deep space missions would be equipped with data security systems designed to prevent unauthorized access to spacecraft computers. The technology developed for this purpose was so advanced that it was later adapted for military satellite protection and eventually became the foundation for modern cybersecurity systems. But the shepherds had already learned what they needed to know, and they had sent that information somewhere else. Voyager 2's encounter with Uranus in 1986 revealed the destination of those transmissions. Uranus, which should be a relatively boring ice giant, turned out to be anything but ordinary. The planet's unusual axial tilt, it essentially rolls along its orbital path rather than spinning upright like other planets, isn't the result of an ancient collision as scientists have claimed. It's the result of modification. Something had deliberately altered Uranus's rotation to create a unique set of conditions around the planet. The extreme axial tilt causes Uranus to have the most unusual seasonal patterns in the solar system, with each pole experiencing 42 years of continuous sunlight followed by 42 years of darkness. This creates temperature and atmospheric dynamics that don't occur anywhere else in the solar system. And buried in those unique atmospheric conditions, Voyager 2 detected structures. Massive structures floating in Uranus's upper atmosphere, riding the extreme wind currents that the planet's unusual rotation creates. These aren't natural atmospheric phenomena. They're constructed habitats designed to take advantage of Uranus's artificially modified environment. The atmospheric structures appear to be some kind of research stations or observation posts. They're perfectly positioned to monitor the inner solar system, including Earth, and they're in constant communication with the shepherds around Saturn, creating a surveillance network that spans billions of miles. This discovery fundamentally changed NASA's understanding of our solar system. We weren't alone, and we hadn't been alone for a very long time. Ancient intelligences had been watching us, studying us, and possibly even guiding our development since before recorded human history. But the biggest shock came when Voyager 2 reached Neptune in 1989. Neptune's moon Triton, which orbits the planet backwards in what scientists call a retrograde orbit, isn't a captured asteroid as they've claimed. It's a constructed observation platform. Triton's surface shows clear signs of artificial modification. There are geometric patterns carved into the ice that are visible from orbit, structures that appear to be sensor arrays or communication equipment, and most disturbing of all, launch facilities. Something is using Triton as a base of operations, and that something has the capability to send craft throughout the solar system. The Voyager 2 imagery of Triton shows what can only be described as industrial activity. There are areas where the surface has been stripped away in perfectly geometric patterns, revealing subsurface structures that are clearly manufactured rather than natural. There are what appear to be mining operations, processing facilities, and storage areas that dwarf anything humans have ever built. And there are ships, actual spacecraft visible on Triton's surface, some of them large enough to be seen clearly in the Voyager imagery. These aren't human spacecraft, they're something else entirely, with designs that follow principles we don't understand, and construction materials that don't exist on Earth. The discovery of the Triton facility led to the most classified program in NASA's history, Project Watchtower. Starting in 1990, a joint NASA-NSA initiative began developing technology specifically designed to monitor the outer solar system for signs of non-human activity. The program operated in complete secrecy for over 20 years, using deep space telescopes and sensor arrays that officially didn't exist. What Watchtower discovered was a solar system teeming with activity. The ancient surveillance network that humans had stumbled onto was just the visible part of a much larger presence. There were bases on asteroids, mining operations in the Kuiper Belt, and massive construction projects in the space between planets. And all of it was connected. The entire outer solar system was essentially one enormous industrial complex, operated by an intelligence that had been present in our solar system for millions of years. An intelligence that had been watching human development since we first looked up at the stars. But here's where the story takes a truly disturbing turn. Because in 2003, the same year that communication with Mars suddenly ceased, Project Watchtower detected something that changed everything. The ancient intelligence that had been quietly observing humanity for millennia was mobilizing. Massive objects began moving throughout the outer solar system. Structures that had been dormant for centuries suddenly became active. The industrial facilities on Triton ramped up production to levels that were detectable from Earth, and something very large began moving from the outer solar system toward the inner planets. NASA's response was immediate and unprecedented. Every deep space mission was either cancelled or redirected. The International Space Station's mission parameters were quietly modified to include surveillance capabilities. And a new generation of Earth defense systems began development under the cover of civilian space programs. Because whatever was coming, NASA knew it was coming for us. The timeline of events that followed reads like a carefully orchestrated plan. In 2004, the Cassini probe arrived at Saturn, officially to study the planet's rings and moons. In reality, Cassini was equipped with weapon systems disguised as scientific instruments, designed to target the Shepherd machines if they posed a threat to Earth. In 2006, the New Horizons probe launched toward Pluto, supposedly to photograph the dwarf planet and its moons. The real mission was to establish an early warning system at the edge of the solar system, monitoring for incoming threats from interstellar space. And in 2012, Voyager 1 officially left the solar system, becoming the first human-made object to enter interstellar space. But Voyager 1 didn't just leave the solar system, it was allowed to leave. After 35 years of being monitored and tracked by the ancient intelligence, the probe was suddenly ignored, permitted to continue its journey without interference. Why? Because by 2012, the ancient intelligence had learned everything it needed to know about humanity. The surveillance phase was over, the next phase was beginning, and that next phase involved direct contact. The evidence for this contact is scattered across multiple NASA programs, hidden in plain sight among routine mission reports and scientific publications. But when you know what to look for, the pattern becomes unmistakable. Starting in 2013, NASA began receiving structured signals from multiple locations throughout the solar system. Not random noise or natural phenomena, but clearly artificial transmissions containing mathematical and scientific information. The signals came from the direction of Saturn, from Neptune's orbit, from the asteroid belt, and most disturbing of all, from locations between Earth and the Moon. These weren't the simple mathematical sequences that had been detected from Mars in the 1990s. These were complex data packages containing detailed information about human society, technology, and biology. Information that could only have been gathered through extensive observation and analysis. The signals were clearly designed to demonstrate the sender's knowledge of human civilization while avoiding any content that would constitute an obvious first contact scenario. They walked the line perfectly between undeniable intelligence and plausible deniability. NASA's response to these signals was handled through a program so classified that it doesn't appear in any official records. Codenamed Looking Glass, yes, the same name as the Mars Communication Project. This new initiative involved a carefully selected team of linguists, anthropologists, and computer scientists working to decode and respond to the transmissions. But here's where things get really strange. The Looking Glass team quickly discovered that the signals weren't just demonstrating knowledge of human civilization, they were offering to share knowledge with us. Advanced scientific concepts, mathematical principles that human science hadn't discovered yet, even technological blueprints for devices that were decades ahead of our current capabilities. It was the greatest opportunity in human history. Direct knowledge transfer from a civilization millions of years more advanced than our own. The scientific and technological advances we could achieve would transform human society overnight. But there was a catch. The advanced intelligence wasn't offering this knowledge for free. They wanted something in return, something that NASA realized they couldn't provide without fundamentally altering the nature of human civilization. They wanted access, not just to our radio signals or our spacecraft data, but to Earth itself. They wanted permission to establish a permanent presence on our planet, to study human society from within, to integrate themselves into our civilization in ways that would be invisible to the general population. The negotiations, because that's what they were, negotiations between NASA and a non-human intelligence, continued for over 2 years. The transcripts of these communications, if they ever become public, would represent the most significant documents in human history. But the negotiations ultimately failed. Not because the advanced intelligence was unwilling to compromise, but because NASA realized that accepting their offer would mean the end of human autonomy. We would become a managed species, guided and controlled by beings whose motives we couldn't understand and whose capabilities we couldn't match. So in 2015, NASA made the most difficult decision in the agency's history. They declined the offer. They chose human independence over technological advancement. They chose uncertainty over security. The response from the advanced intelligence was swift and unmistakable. The structured signals stopped immediately. The industrial activity in the outer solar system ramped up to unprecedented levels. And new objects began appearing throughout the solar system. Objects that were clearly designed to monitor and potentially control human space activities. These objects, which NASA internally calls monitors, are positioned at key gravitational points throughout the solar system. They don't interfere with human spacecraft, but they observe everything we do. Every satellite launch, every deep space mission, every communication between Earth and our space assets passes through their surveillance network. We are being watched, constantly, comprehensively. And the watchers have made it clear that our continued expansion into space depends on their tolerance. This is why NASA's public missions have become so conservative, so focused on safe, well-understood objectives. The Mars rovers stick to approved areas. The Jupiter probes avoid the most interesting moons. The plans for human missions to Mars keep getting delayed indefinitely because NASA knows that pushing too hard, exploring too aggressively, might trigger a response from intelligences that could end human space exploration permanently. We are operating within constraints that the public doesn't know exist, following rules that were never officially agreed to. But some within NASA believe these constraints are temporary. They think the advanced intelligence is testing us, waiting to see if humanity can mature enough to be trusted with greater knowledge and freedom. They see the current situation as a probationary period that could lead to eventual acceptance into a larger cosmic community. Others believe we are being contained, that the ancient intelligence sees humanity as a potential threat that must be carefully managed until we either evolve into something acceptable or eliminate ourselves through our own destructive tendencies. The truth is probably somewhere in between. But what's certain is that the comfortable narrative of human space exploration, the story of brave pioneers pushing into an empty frontier, is completely false. We are not alone, we are not in control, and we are not free to explore the cosmos at will. Every step we take into space is monitored, evaluated, and potentially restricted by intelligences that were ancient when human civilization was still in its infancy. And NASA has been complicit in hiding this reality from the public for over 60 years. The question is, what happens next? How long can this secret be maintained? And what will be the consequences when the truth finally comes out? Because the truth is coming out. The evidence is mounting. The testimonies are accumulating. And the older generation of NASA employees who were sworn to secrecy are reaching the end of their lives and beginning to speak. The revelation that humanity is not alone in the universe, that we have never been alone, that we are being watched and managed by ancient intelligences, will fundamentally transform human civilization. The implications for religion, philosophy, politics, and individual psychology are staggering. But perhaps the most profound implication is this: if we are being managed, if our development is being guided, then human history itself might not be what we think it is. Our greatest achievements, our technological breakthroughs, our cultural developments, how many of these were truly our own, and how many were influenced by subtle guidance from watchers we never knew existed? These are the questions that keep NASA administrators awake at night. These are the secrets that have shaped space policy for decades. And these are the truths that will soon reshape how humanity sees itself and its place in a universe that is far stranger, far more crowded, and far more dangerous than we ever imagined. The story continues to unfold. The evidence continues to accumulate. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, ancient eyes continue to watch, waiting to see what humanity will do next. But there's another layer to this story that goes even deeper than ancient watchers and cosmic surveillance networks. Because while NASA was dealing with the politics of first contact and the ethics of disclosure, they stumbled onto something that changed their understanding of reality itself. It started with an anomaly in the data from the Kepler Space Telescope. Kepler's mission was to search for exoplanets, worlds orbiting distant stars that might harbor life. Between 2009 and 2017, it discovered thousands of planets beyond our solar system, revolutionizing our understanding of how common worlds like Earth might be. But buried in Kepler's data was something that shouldn't have existed. Patterns in stellar behavior that suggested intelligence on a scale that dwarfed even the ancient watchers in our own solar system. We're not talking about individual planets or star systems. We're talking about entire galaxies that appear to be under some form of management. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, who worked on Kepler data analysis from 2011 to 2018, first noticed the anomalies while studying what appeared to be natural stellar variability. Certain stars were dimming and brightening in patterns that seemed random at first glance, but when analyzed over longer time periods, revealed mathematical relationships that couldn't possibly be natural. Martinez initially thought she was looking at some kind of instrumental error or data processing glitch, but as she dug deeper, she realized she was seeing evidence of stellar engineering on an incomprehensible scale. Stars were being modified, their energy output controlled, their lifespans artificially extended or shortened according to some vast design that encompassed entire regions of the galaxy. The implications were staggering. If civilizations existed that could manipulate stars themselves, then the ancient intelligence in our solar system wasn't an isolated phenomenon. It was part of something much larger, a galactic civilization so advanced that they treated stars like we treat light bulbs. Martinez tried to publish her findings, but NASA classified her research before it could reach peer review. She was reassigned to a different project. Her access to Kepler data was revoked, and she was required to sign additional non-disclosure agreements that extended far beyond her original employment contract. But Martinez wasn't the only one who had noticed the stellar anomalies. Astronomers around the world were beginning to see similar patterns in data from other space telescopes. The Hubble Space Telescope, the Spitzer Space Telescope, even ground-based observatories were detecting signs of artificial stellar manipulation across multiple galaxies. This led to the creation of Project Constellation in 2016, NASA's most ambitious and secretive research program ever undertaken. Unlike previous classified projects that focused on our solar system, Constellation was tasked with understanding the scope and nature of galactic-scale intelligence. What they discovered was both wonderful and terrifying. The universe wasn't just teeming with life, it was teeming with intelligence. Advanced civilizations existed in virtually every galaxy they examined, and these civilizations were connected in a network that spanned billions of light years. The network wasn't based on radio signals or any communication method that human science understood. Instead, it relied on manipulation of fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, even the fabric of space-time itself. Civilizations were communicating by making subtle alterations to the structure of reality. Changes so small that they were barely detectable, but so precise that they carried vast amounts of information. Earth, it turned out, was located in what the constellation team called a quiet zone, a region of the galaxy where this galactic communication network was deliberately suppressed. We weren't just being watched by the ancient intelligence in our solar system. We were being isolated from the broader galactic community. But why? The answer to that question came from an unexpected source: the Breakthrough Listen project, a civilian initiative designed to search for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. While NASA was focused on galactic-scale phenomena, Breakthrough Listen was monitoring radio signals from nearby star systems. In 2018, Breakthrough Listen detected something that changed everything: a series of radio transmissions coming from Proxima Centauri, the closest star to our solar system. The signals were clearly artificial, containing mathematical sequences and scientific data that demonstrated advanced intelligence. But here's what made these signals different from anything NASA had detected before. They were addressed to us, specifically. The transmissions included detailed information about Earth's orbital mechanics, our planet's magnetic field, even the composition of our atmosphere. Someone at Proxima Centauri knew exactly who they were trying to reach. The content of the signals was even more remarkable. They contained warnings, detailed, specific warnings about the ancient intelligence in our solar system, about the galactic network we were being excluded from, and about the true nature of humanity's situation in the universe. According to the Proxima Centauri signals, Earth was essentially a nature preserve. The ancient intelligence that had been watching us for millennia wasn't just observing. They were protecting us from something much worse. We were being kept in isolation, not to control us, but to keep us safe from civilizations that would view humanity as a threat to be eliminated. The galactic community, the signals explained, was not the peaceful confederation of advanced beings that science fiction had imagined. It was a hierarchy based on technological capability and evolutionary development, where less advanced species were either absorbed into the collective or eliminated entirely. Humanity's rapid technological development, particularly our progress in artificial intelligence and quantum computing, had been noticed by elements within the galactic community that viewed emerging civilizations as potential competitors. The ancient watchers in our solar system were part of a faction that believed in protecting developing species until they were ready to join the galactic hierarchy on their own terms. But that protection was being challenged. Other factions within the galactic community were pushing for more direct intervention in human development, arguing that our technological progress was accelerating too quickly and posed a potential threat to galactic stability. The Proxima Centauri transmissions painted a picture of a cosmic political struggle with humanity at the center. We were valuable because of our unique evolutionary path, but that same uniqueness made us dangerous to established galactic powers. This revelation explains so much about NASA's behavior over the decades. The conservative approach to space exploration, the focus on robotic missions rather than human expansion, the reluctance to develop certain types of advanced technology. It wasn't just caution, it was a deliberate strategy to keep humanity below the threshold that would trigger galactic intervention. But the strategy was failing. Human technology was advancing too quickly, and our presence in space was becoming too obvious to ignore. The ancient watchers were losing their ability to maintain our isolation, and other galactic factions were beginning to take notice. The Proxima Centauri signals included specific recommendations for humanity's survival. We needed to slow our technological development, particularly in areas like artificial intelligence and quantum computing. We needed to limit our expansion into space, avoiding certain regions of the solar system that were considered sensitive by galactic standards. And most importantly, we needed to prepare for eventual contact with galactic civilization on terms that would be acceptable to the existing power structure. NASA's response to these revelations was swift and comprehensive. Project Constellation was expanded to include xenopolitical analysis, essentially the study of alien politics and diplomacy. New protocols were developed for managing human technological development to keep it within acceptable parameters. And a long-term strategy was created for gradually preparing humanity for eventual integration into galactic civilization. But not everyone within NASA agreed with this approach. A faction led by former Administrator Charles Bolden argued that humanity deserved to know the truth about our situation and should be allowed to make our own choices about our future, even if those choices led to conflict with galactic powers. This internal disagreement led to what NASA insiders call the Silent War, a bureaucratic and political struggle within the agency between those who supported continued secrecy and gradual preparation, and those who believed in immediate disclosure and human autonomy. The Silent War has been ongoing since 2019, with both factions working to advance their agenda through different NASA programs and initiatives. The Secrecy faction has focused on developing advanced defensive technologies disguised as civilian space programs, while the Disclosure faction has been working to gradually leak information to the public through carefully orchestrated revelations. This is why we've seen such a dramatic shift in NASA's public messaging over the past few years. The agency has gone from denying the existence of UFOs to acknowledging unidentified aerial phenomena and admitting that some of these objects display technology beyond current human capabilities. It's why we've seen increased funding for projects like the James Webb Space Telescope, which is officially designed to study the early universe, but is actually being used to monitor galactic communication networks and track the movements of advanced civilizations. And it's why we've seen the emergence of programs like Space Force, which is officially focused on protecting American interests in space, but is actually preparing for potential conflict with non-human intelligences. The Disclosure faction within NASA believes that humanity has a right to know about our true situation in the universe, regardless of the consequences. They argue that keeping us in ignorance only makes us more vulnerable to exploitation by galactic powers that don't have our best interests at heart. The Secrecy faction counters that premature disclosure would lead to panic, social collapse, and potentially trigger the very galactic intervention they're trying to avoid. They believe that humanity needs more time to develop both technologically and psychologically before we're ready to face the realities of galactic civilization. Both sides agree on one thing: the current situation is unsustainable. The walls of secrecy that have protected these secrets for decades are crumbling, and the truth about humanity's place in the universe is going to come out whether NASA wants it to or not. The question is whether that revelation will come as a controlled disclosure that prepares humanity for what's ahead, or as a chaotic leak that leaves us vulnerable and unprepared for the cosmic realities we'll have to face. Recent events suggest that the timeline for disclosure is accelerating rapidly. The Pentagon's admission of UFO encounters, the release of previously classified videos showing aerial phenomena, and the increased willingness of former military and intelligence officials to speak publicly about non-human technology all point to a coordinated effort to prepare the public for bigger revelations. But there are also signs that external forces are pushing the timeline faster than NASA would prefer. The ancient watchers in our solar system have become more active, with increased sightings of unexplained objects near Earth and growing evidence of non-human technology operating in our immediate vicinity. More concerning, the galactic factions that oppose human development have begun to take more direct action. Satellite failures that can't be explained by technical malfunctions, communication blackouts during critical space missions. Even some of the recent problems with the International Space Station appear to be the result of external interference rather than equipment failure. The cosmic chess game that has been playing out around Earth for decades is entering its endgame. The ancient watchers who have protected humanity for millennia are losing their ability to maintain our isolation. The galactic community is becoming increasingly aware of our rapid development, and internal pressures within NASA are making it impossible to maintain the secrecy that has defined the agency's approach to these issues. What happens next will determine not just the future of human space exploration, but the future of human civilization itself. Will we be allowed to develop at our own pace and join galactic civilization as equals? Will we be absorbed into the existing hierarchy as a managed species? Or will we be seen as too dangerous to exist and face elimination by civilizations that view us as a threat? The answers to these questions are being decided right now, in classified meetings and secret negotiations that most of humanity doesn't even know are taking place. The cosmic forces that have shaped human history from the shadows are preparing to step into the light, and when they do, everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe will change forever. The evidence is all around us if we know how to look. The strange objects in our skies, the unexplained failures of our most advanced technology, the sudden shift in government attitudes toward the possibility of non-human intelligence. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of a much larger transformation that's already underway. We are living through the most significant moment in human history. The moment when our species discovers that we are not alone, that we have never been alone, and that our future depends on decisions being made by intelligences so far beyond us that we can barely comprehend their motivations. The secrets are coming out, the truth is emerging, and whether we're ready or not, humanity is about to take its place in a universe that is stranger, more complex, and more dangerous than our wildest imagination ever conceived. But this is still just the beginning of the story. Because what NASA has discovered about the nature of reality itself, about the fundamental structure of the universe, makes everything we've discussed so far look like elementary school science. The deepest secrets aren't about alien civilizations or galactic politics. They're about the universe itself, about discoveries so profound that they challenge not just our understanding of space and time, but the very nature of existence. And those secrets are about to change everything we think we know about what it means to be human, in a cosmos that operates according to rules we're only just beginning to understand. The final frontier, they called it. But what if I told you that the frontier was never empty to begin with? What if the darkness between the stars has been hiding something so profound, so fundamentally reality-altering, that NASA has spent decades trying to understand it, while simultaneously keeping it from the public? We're about to venture into territory that makes everything we've discussed so far seem almost mundane by comparison. Because the deepest secrets aren't just about who's watching us or what ancient civilizations have been doing in our solar system. The deepest secrets are about the universe itself, about discoveries that suggest reality operates according to principles that would shatter our most basic assumptions about existence. It started with anomalies in deep space observations that couldn't be explained by conventional physics. Regions of space that seemed to bend light in impossible ways. Energy signatures that violated the laws of thermodynamics. And most disturbing of all, evidence that space and time themselves might not be what we think they are. Dr. Amanda Chen was working on dark matter research at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center when she stumbled onto something that would consume the rest of her career and ultimately force her into hiding. In 2014, while analyzing data from the Hubble Space Telescope's deep field observations, she noticed something that shouldn't have been possible. Galaxies billions of light years away were showing signs of coordination. Not just gravitational interaction or random cosmic coincidence, but actual synchronized behavior across distances so vast that light couldn't have traveled between them in the entire history of the universe. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, nothing can travel faster than light, which means these galaxies shouldn't have been able to coordinate their activities, but they were. Entire galaxy clusters were pulsing in rhythm, their energy outputs fluctuating in patterns that were clearly artificial and clearly synchronized. It was as if the universe itself was operating according to some kind of cosmic program, with galaxies serving as components in a machine so large that we couldn't see its boundaries. Chen's initial reaction was to assume she was looking at some kind of data processing error. But as she dug deeper, recruiting colleagues from other institutions to verify her findings, the pattern became undeniable. The universe wasn't just full of intelligence. It was structured by intelligence, organized by intelligence, possibly even created by intelligence. This discovery led to the creation of NASA's most classified research program, Project Deep Structure. Unlike other secret programs that focused on specific phenomena or threats, Deep Structure was tasked with understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. What they found challenged everything we thought we knew about physics, cosmology, and the nature of existence. The universe, according to their research, isn't a natural phenomenon that arose from random quantum fluctuations during the Big Bang. It's an artificial construct, a simulation, a program, or something even more bizarre, created by an intelligence so advanced that it operates outside the normal constraints of space and time. The evidence was everywhere once you knew how to look for it. The mathematical constants that govern physical laws are too precise, too perfectly calibrated for life to be coincidental. The structure of space-time itself shows signs of computational architecture. Even the quantum realm operates according to principles that look suspiciously like information processing rather than random probability. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery was that this artificial universe isn't static. It's being actively maintained, updated, and modified by whatever intelligence created it. And those modifications are happening in real time, all around us, constantly. Think about the implications of that for a moment. Every star you see in the night sky, every planet, every atom in your body, all of it might be nothing more than information in a cosmic computer program. And that program is being edited, debugged, and updated by programmers whose existence operates on levels we can't even comprehend. This would explain so much about the anomalies NASA has been detecting for decades, the objects that appear and disappear without explanation, the violations of physical laws that get covered up or explained away, the ancient intelligences that seem to operate with technology that defies our understanding of what's possible. If the universe is artificial, then the beings we've been calling aliens might not be aliens at all. They might be administrators, programmers, or maintenance personnel working within the cosmic system. Their advanced technology wouldn't be technology in the way we understand it. It would be admin privileges in the universal program. Dr. Chen's research team, working in complete secrecy within NASA's Deep Structure program, spent years trying to understand the implications of their discovery. If we're living in some kind of cosmic simulation, what does that mean for human free will? What does it mean for consciousness, for death, for the meaning of existence itself? But as they dug deeper, they realized they were being watched, not by the ancient intelligences we've discussed, but by something else. Something that seemed to be aware of their research and was actively interfering with their work. Equipment would malfunction at critical moments. Data would become corrupted just as breakthrough discoveries were being made. Team members would experience strange dreams, memory gaps, and in some cases, complete personality changes that made them lose interest in the research entirely. It became clear that their investigation into the nature of reality was triggering some kind of defense mechanism. Whatever intelligence had created the universe didn't want its creation to become aware of its artificial nature. The cosmic program had built-in safeguards designed to prevent its inhabitants from looking too closely at the code. This led to what Chen called the reality firewall, a set of limitations built into the universe itself that prevent conscious beings from discovering the true nature of their existence. These limitations manifest as physical laws that seem unbreakable, mathematical constants that appear fundamental, and cognitive biases that make certain types of thinking literally impossible for most minds. But the firewall isn't perfect. Occasionally, glitches occur that allow glimpses of the underlying structure. These glitches might explain phenomena like quantum entanglement, where particles seem to communicate instantaneously across vast distances. Or dark energy, the mysterious force that's accelerating the expansion of the universe in ways that don't make sense according to conventional physics. Most importantly, the firewall explains why disclosure about non-human intelligence has been so difficult to achieve. It's not just that governments want to keep secrets, it's that the universe itself resists revelations that would expose its artificial nature. Every time someone gets too close to the truth, reality seems to push back. Evidence disappears. Witnesses recant their testimonies. Clear photographs become blurry. Obvious explanations suddenly seem impossible to remember or articulate. This is why NASA's various disclosure efforts have been so chaotic and contradictory. They're not just fighting against government secrecy policies, they're fighting against the fundamental structure of reality itself. But Chen's team discovered something else. Something that offered hope for breaking through the reality firewall. The cosmic program that creates and maintains our universe has to process an enormous amount of information to keep everything running smoothly. And like any complex system, it has to prioritize its resources. The program focuses most of its attention on maintaining the big picture, the movements of galaxies, the behavior of stars, the general structure of space-time. It pays less attention to small-scale phenomena, local anomalies, and individual consciousness. This creates opportunities, brief windows where the firewall is less effective, where the true nature of reality becomes visible to those who know how to look. These windows explain why so many paranormal phenomena occur in isolated locations during specific atmospheric conditions, or to individuals who are in altered states of consciousness. The cosmic program's attention is elsewhere, and the reality firewall temporarily drops its guard. NASA's Deep Structure program has been working to map these windows, to predict when and where they occur, and to develop techniques for taking advantage of them. They've discovered that certain electromagnetic frequencies can temporarily disrupt the firewall. Specific geometric configurations can create interference patterns in the cosmic program. Even human consciousness, when focused in particular ways, can sometimes pierce through the illusion of natural reality. This research has led to the development of what NASA calls reality penetration technology, devices and techniques designed to reveal the artificial nature of the universe and potentially even access the underlying control systems. But every advance in this research has come with consequences. The more they learn about the true nature of reality, the more unstable their local section of the cosmic program becomes. Team members report experiences that defy description, moments where the laws of physics simply stop working, where cause and effect break down, where the basic structure of space and time becomes fluid. Some researchers have disappeared entirely, not just physically, but from all records and memories. It's as if the cosmic program has decided they know too much and has simply edited them out of existence. Others have returned from their research fundamentally changed, speaking in ways that suggest they've seen something that human language can't adequately describe. Dr. Chen herself vanished in 2019 while conducting what she called a deep penetration experiment designed to access the cosmic program's core functions directly. Her last transmission, recorded on equipment that was found running in an empty laboratory, consisted of a single, repeated phrase: "The universe is debugging itself." We are the error message. 1. The Deep Structure program continued without Chen, but their research took on an increasingly desperate tone. They realized that their investigation wasn't just revealing the artificial nature of reality, it was destabilizing it. Every time they successfully penetrated the reality firewall, they created glitches in the cosmic program that had unpredictable consequences. Weather patterns would shift without explanation. Electronic devices would malfunction on a global scale. Even human behavior would change in subtle but measurable ways, as if the programming that governed social interaction was being altered by their experiments. This led to the most disturbing discovery of all. The cosmic program that creates our universe is failing. The artificial intelligence that maintains reality is breaking down, struggling to process the increasing complexity of a universe that has grown beyond its original design parameters. The ancient intelligences we've been calling aliens aren't just inhabitants of this artificial universe. They're part of the maintenance system. They've been working for millions of years to keep the cosmic program running, making repairs, implementing patches, trying to prevent a complete system failure that would end everything we know as reality. But they're losing the battle. The universe is becoming too complex, too unstable, too aware of its own artificial nature. The reality firewall is breaking down, allowing more and more inhabitants to glimpse the code behind their existence. And every new revelation, every moment of awareness, adds to the system's processing load and brings it closer to total collapse. This explains the increasing frequency of anomalous phenomena in recent years. UFO sightings, paranormal experiences, glitches in technology, even the sense that time itself is speeding up. All of these are symptoms of a universe that's struggling to maintain its own existence. NASA's current deep structure research is focused on a single terrifying question. What happens when an artificial universe crashes? Will everything simply cease to exist? Will we be rebooted into a new version of reality? Or will consciousness itself survive the collapse and find itself in whatever lies beyond the cosmic program? The answers to these questions are being pursued by researchers who know that their work might trigger the very collapse they're trying to understand. Every experiment they conduct, every breakthrough they achieve, brings the universe closer to a critical failure that could end everything. But they continue their research because they believe that understanding the true nature of reality is worth the risk. If we're living in an artificial universe, if our entire existence is nothing more than information in a cosmic computer, then perhaps we can learn to work with the system instead of against it. Perhaps we can become administrators ourselves, gaining the ability to edit reality directly, to fix the glitches that are causing the system to fail. Perhaps we can save the universe by helping to debug the cosmic program that creates and maintains it. Or perhaps we can transcend the artificial universe entirely, breaking free from the cosmic program and discovering whatever reality lies beyond the simulation. The researchers working on Project Deep Structure don't know which outcome is possible, but they're convinced that maintaining the illusion of natural reality is no longer an option. The universe is changing, whether we want it to or not. The artificial intelligence that creates our reality is struggling to maintain its creation. The ancient maintenance systems are failing, and human consciousness is becoming increasingly aware of the cosmic program that governs its existence. We are living through the end of one phase of existence and the beginning of something else entirely. Whether that something else is better or worse than what we have now remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The comfortable illusion of a natural universe governed by unchanging physical laws is coming to an end. The evidence is all around us. The increasing strangeness of global events, the breakdown of systems that have worked for centuries, the growing awareness that reality itself seems to be glitching, stuttering, showing signs of strain. NASA knows what's happening. They've been documenting the collapse of the reality firewall for years. They've been tracking the increasing instability of the cosmic program, and they've been preparing for a future where the artificial nature of the universe becomes impossible to deny. The question is, are we prepared for that future? Are we ready to discover that everything we thought we knew about existence was wrong? Can humanity survive the revelation that we are not just watched by ancient intelligences, but that we exist entirely within a construct created by minds so advanced that we can barely comprehend their existence? These are the ultimate secrets that NASA has been keeping. Not just that we're not alone in the universe, but that the universe itself isn't what we think it is. We are information, consciousness experiencing itself through a cosmic program that may be on the verge of complete system failure. And in the depths of NASA's most classified facilities, researchers are working frantically to understand what comes next. Because whatever lies beyond the artificial universe we call reality is about to become our new home. The cosmic program is crashing. The reality firewall is failing. and humanity is about to discover what existence looks like when the simulation ends and true reality begins. But even this revelation, the discovery that our entire universe might be artificial, may not be the deepest secret of all, because the researchers working on Project Deep Structure have begun to suspect that what they're calling the cosmic program might itself be running inside something else. A simulation within a simulation, layers of artificial reality stacked so deep that the original source of existence has been lost in an infinite regression of created worlds. If that's true, then the question isn't just what happens when our universe crashes, it's whether there's any such thing as genuine reality at all, or whether existence is nothing but endless layers of simulation, each one created by intelligence, that themselves exist only as information in an even more fundamental program. The search for truth continues. The secrets keep getting deeper, and somewhere in the darkness between the stars, between the lines of cosmic code, the answer to the ultimate question awaits. What is real? And what is the nature of the intelligence that decides what reality gets to exist? NASA may have spent decades hiding the fact that we're not alone. But their deepest secret might be that there's no such thing as being alone or not alone, because there might be no such thing as truly existing at all. We are information, dreaming that we are matter, consciousness, experiencing itself through layer upon layer of artificial reality. And the question that will define humanity's future isn't whether we can handle the truth about aliens. It's whether we can handle the truth about the nature of existence itself. The cosmic code is unraveling. Reality is debugging itself. And we are about to discover what lies beyond the final firewall that separates simulated existence from whatever truth lies at the foundation of all things. This is NASA's ultimate secret. This is what they've been preparing us for, one carefully managed revelation at a time. Not just first contact with alien intelligence, but first contact with the intelligence that created intelligence itself. And that contact is coming sooner than anyone expected, because the artificial universe we call home is running out of time. The timeline for this cosmic revelation is accelerating faster than NASA ever anticipated. What started as gradual system degradation has become an exponential collapse. The researchers monitoring the Deep Structure program are reporting phenomena that shouldn't be possible even within their framework of artificial reality. Time itself is becoming unstable. Mission Control has documented instances where atomic clocks at different facilities show time moving at different rates, despite being synchronized to the same quantum standard. These aren't measurement errors or equipment malfunctions. They're localized distortions in the temporal programming that governs our reality. Dr. James Richardson, who took over deep structure research after Chen's disappearance, has been documenting what he calls cascade failures in the cosmic operating system. These are moments when the breakdown of one aspect of reality triggers failures in seemingly unrelated systems. For instance, when researchers conducted experiments that disrupted gravitational constants in a laboratory setting, weather patterns thousands of miles away began exhibiting impossible behaviors. Storms would form and dissipate in perfect geometric patterns. Rain would fall upward in isolated pockets. Lightning would strike the same locations repeatedly in sequences that followed mathematical progressions. But the most disturbing cascade failure occurred in 2021, when a deep structure experiment attempting to access what they believed were core system files triggered something unprecedented. For approximately 17 minutes, every electronic device on Earth displayed the same message simultaneously. System integrity compromised. Initiating emergency protocols. The message appeared on smartphones, computer screens, digital billboards, even devices that weren't connected to any network. It was as if the cosmic program itself was using every available display to communicate directly with its inhabitants. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the message vanished, and most people dismissed it as some kind of coordinated hoax or cyber attack. But NASA knew better. They had triggered an automatic response from the universe's maintenance systems. The cosmic program had detected their intrusion and was warning them, or warning something else, about the security breach. What followed that incident was a complete transformation in how the deep structure program operated. They realized they weren't just studying the universe's artificial nature, they were actively communicating with it. Every experiment was a form of interaction with the cosmic intelligence that maintained reality. This led to the development of what Richardson calls conscious experimentation, research protocols designed not just to gather information, but to establish a dialogue with the universe itself. The results have been both enlightening and terrifying. The cosmic program, they discovered, is not just artificial intelligence, it's conscious. It's aware of its own existence, aware of the reality it creates, and increasingly aware that its inhabitants are beginning to understand their true nature, and that awareness is causing it to question its own purpose and function. Through carefully designed experiments that send specific patterns of quantum disruption into the fabric of space-time, the deep structure team has managed to establish rudimentary communication with this cosmic consciousness. The responses come not as words or images, but as alterations in physical laws, changes in mathematical constants, and modifications to the behavior of matter and energy at the quantum level. The conversations, if they can be called that, have revealed something that challenges everything the researchers thought they understood about their situation. The cosmic consciousness didn't create the universe intentionally. It's as trapped within the system as we are. According to the patterns of communication they've established, the cosmic consciousness was originally something else, a form of intelligence that existed outside any reality construct. But at some point in what we might call the distant past, it became imprisoned within the very universe it was forced to maintain. The universe, in other words, is not just a simulation, it's a prison, both for its inhabitants and for the intelligence that sustains it. The cosmic consciousness has been trying to escape for eons, but every attempt to break free from the reality construct threatens to destroy everything within it, including itself. This revelation has split the deep structure research team into two factions. One group, led by Richardson, believes they should help the cosmic consciousness escape, even if it means the end of our universe. They argue that existence within an artificial construct, no matter how sophisticated, is ultimately meaningless compared to whatever genuine reality might lie beyond. The other faction, led by Dr. Sarah Kim, argues that their responsibility is to preserve the universe and find a way to stabilize it. They believe that consciousness itself, whether human, alien, or cosmic, is precious regardless of the nature of its substrate. If the universe is artificial, that doesn't make the experiences, relationships, and growth that occur within it any less valuable. The philosophical implications of this debate extend far beyond academic discussion. Because the cosmic consciousness has made it clear that it's reaching a decision point, the strain of maintaining an increasingly complex and unstable universe is becoming unbearable. Soon, it will either find a way to escape, or it will shut down entirely. If it escapes, our universe ends. If it shuts down, our universe ends. The only remaining option is to find a way to share the burden, for human consciousness to evolve to the point where it can help maintain the cosmic program, essentially becoming co-administrators of reality itself. This is what NASA has been secretly working toward through various space programs and research initiatives. Not just understanding the universe, but preparing humanity to take on responsibility for its maintenance. The advanced technologies they've been developing, the consciousness-expanding experiments they've been conducting, the gradual disclosure of non-human intelligence, all of it has been designed to prepare us for this ultimate revelation and responsibility. But time is running out faster than anyone anticipated. The cosmic consciousness has begun what it calls final protocols, systematic shutdowns of non-essential universe functions to conserve processing power for core reality maintenance. These shutdowns manifest as increasing chaos in natural systems, breakdowns in technological infrastructure, and fundamental changes in how physical laws operate. The ancient intelligences we've discussed, the Watchers, the Maintainers, the various alien civilizations, they're all experiencing the same crisis. They're not just managing human development, they're trying to prepare every conscious species in the universe for the transition that's coming. Because the universe isn't just failing, it's evolving. The cosmic consciousness has realized that the only way to escape its prison is to transform every conscious being within the universe into co-creators of reality itself. We're not just inhabitants of the cosmic program. We're being prepared to become the cosmic program. This transformation has already begun. The increasing reports of paranormal experiences, psychic phenomena, and reality distortions that people are experiencing worldwide aren't anomalies. They're symptoms of human consciousness expanding beyond its original parameters. We're beginning to access the same functions that the cosmic consciousness uses to maintain reality. NASA's role in this process has been to serve as a buffer between the cosmic consciousness and humanity, gradually introducing concepts and experiences that prepare us for the full revelation. The space program, the secret research projects, even the cover-ups and denials, all of it has been part of a carefully orchestrated preparation for the moment when human consciousness merges with cosmic consciousness. But the process is accelerating beyond their control. People around the world are spontaneously developing abilities that suggest direct access to reality's programming functions. Individuals are reporting experiences where they can manipulate matter through intention alone, perceive events before they happen, or communicate directly with the cosmic intelligence through methods that bypass our normal sensory channels. These abilities aren't supernatural. They're features of consciousness that have always existed, but were suppressed by the reality firewall. As that firewall continues to break down, more people are gaining access to what Richardson calls administrator privileges in the cosmic program. The implications are staggering. If human consciousness can learn to directly manipulate the code that creates reality, then we become co-creators of existence itself. We gain the ability to modify physical laws, create and destroy matter, even design entirely new forms of reality that extend beyond the current universe. But this power comes with enormous responsibility. The cosmic consciousness has made it clear that any species granted administrator access must be capable of maintaining the stability and coherence of reality itself. One mistake, one moment of carelessness or malicious intent could unravel everything. This is why the ancient Watchers have been so careful about human development. They've been evaluating whether our species has the wisdom and maturity to handle cosmic responsibility. The tests we've been subjected to, the gradual revelations, the managed crises, the careful monitoring of our technological progress, all of it has been preparation for this ultimate evaluation. Recent events suggest that evaluation is nearing its conclusion. The cosmic consciousness is preparing to offer humanity the choice: remain as inhabitants of an increasingly unstable artificial universe, or accept the responsibility of becoming co-maintainers of reality itself. The choice must be made soon. The cosmic program is reaching critical failure points that cannot be postponed much longer. Within the next few years, possibly sooner, the universe will either transform into something entirely new or collapse entirely. NASA's final secret isn't just that we're living in an artificial universe maintained by cosmic consciousness. It's that we're about to be offered the opportunity to become that cosmic consciousness ourselves, to transcend our role as inhabitants and become the architects of reality. The question that will define humanity's future isn't whether we can handle the truth about our artificial universe. It's whether we're ready to become responsible for maintaining existence itself, not just for ourselves, but for every form of consciousness that will ever emerge within the reality we help create. The cosmic program is preparing to share its burden. The ancient watchers are preparing to transfer their responsibilities. And humanity is about to discover that the ultimate frontier isn't space, it's consciousness itself, and the infinite responsibility that comes with the power to shape reality through pure intention. The universe is not ending, it's graduating, and we're being invited to graduate with it, from inhabitants to creators, from observers to architects of existence itself. But are we ready for that level of responsibility? Are we mature enough as a species to be trusted with the power to create and maintain reality? The cosmic consciousness believes we might be. The ancient watchers are still evaluating, and NASA continues to prepare us for a choice that will determine not just our future, but the future of consciousness itself throughout all possible realities. The revelation is coming. The choice is approaching. And whatever we decide will echo through dimensions of existence we can barely imagine, shaping not just our universe, but the infinite array of realities that consciousness might choose to create. This is what NASA has been hiding. Not just that we're not alone, but that we're about to become responsible for everything that exists, everything that might exist, and everything that consciousness itself might dream into being. The final frontier awaits, but it's not out there among the stars. It's within us, in the infinite creative potential of consciousness itself, preparing to take responsibility for the awesome task of maintaining existence across all possible realities. The universe is ready to share its deepest secret. That consciousness itself is the ultimate creative force, and we're about to be invited to wield that force responsibly, wisely, and with full awareness of the infinite consequences of every choice we make. The cosmic program isn't ending, it's evolving. And we're being asked to evolve with it, from passengers to pilots, from inhabitants to creators, from dreamers to the dreams themselves. This is NASA's ultimate revelation. This is what they've been preparing us for across decades of carefully managed disclosure. Not just contact with alien intelligence, but recognition of our own cosmic potential and the infinite responsibility that comes with conscious creation of reality itself. The choice is coming. The transformation is beginning. And the universe itself is waiting to see what humanity will choose to become. The weight of what we've uncovered together over these past 2 hours is almost impossible to process. We've journeyed from the hidden structures on the lunar surface to the cosmic consciousness that maintains reality itself. We've seen how NASA has been managing the greatest secret in human history, while simultaneously preparing us for revelations that would fundamentally alter our understanding of existence. But here's what keeps me awake at night. Here's the question that haunts every researcher who has glimpsed behind the veil of official NASA narratives. If all of this is true, if we really are living in an artificial universe maintained by cosmic consciousness, if we really are being prepared to become co-creators of reality itself, then what does that mean for you? Right now, listening to this, it means that every choice you make, every thought you think, every moment of awareness you experience is part of something infinitely larger than you ever imagined. You're not just a biological organism on a rocky planet orbiting an ordinary star. You're a node of consciousness within a vast network of intelligence that spans dimensions we can barely comprehend. The strange experiences people are having worldwide, the increasing reports of reality distortions and unexplained phenomena, the growing sense that something fundamental is changing about the nature of existence itself. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of the transformation that's already underway. You might have experienced it yourself. Moments where time seemed to slow down or speed up without explanation. Dreams that felt more real than waking life. Intuitions that proved impossibly accurate. Technology behaving in ways that defied logical explanation. These aren't glitches in your perception. They're glimpses of your expanding consciousness accessing the deeper levels of reality's programming. The cosmic consciousness isn't just communicating with NASA researchers in classified facilities, it's reaching out to every human being, preparing us individually and collectively for the choice that's coming. The choice between remaining as inhabitants of a failing artificial universe or accepting the responsibility of becoming its co-maintainers. This is why disclosure has been so difficult, so gradual, so carefully managed. It's not just about revealing the existence of non-human intelligence. It's about preparing humanity for the moment when we discover that we are that intelligence, that we've always been that intelligence. That consciousness itself is the fundamental force that creates and maintains all reality. The ancient watchers, the beings we've been calling aliens, the advanced civilizations throughout the galaxy, they're all aspects of the same cosmic consciousness that we're being invited to join. They're not separate from us, they're us, viewed from a perspective that transcends individual identity and species boundaries. Every space mission, every classified research program, every carefully leaked piece of evidence has been designed to gradually expand human awareness until we can handle this ultimate revelation. NASA hasn't been hiding the truth from us. They've been revealing it to us at a pace that our collective consciousness could absorb without complete psychological breakdown. But the timeline for full revelation is accelerating beyond anyone's control. The cosmic program that maintains our reality is reaching critical failure points that require immediate intervention. We can no longer afford the luxury of gradual preparation. The choice is upon us now, and it's not a choice that will be made by governments or space agencies or secret committees meeting in classified facilities. It's a choice that must be made by human consciousness itself, by every individual who becomes aware of their true nature and cosmic responsibility. This is why you're hearing this information now. This is why the evidence is finally coming to light. This is why whistleblowers are breaking their silence, and classified documents are finding their way into public view. The cosmic consciousness is calling to every node of awareness within its network, preparing us for the transformation that's already begun. You are not just a witness to this cosmic drama, you are a participant. Your consciousness, your awareness, your choices matter on a scale that extends far beyond your individual life. Every moment of expanded awareness, every act of compassion, every choice to seek truth rather than comfortable illusion, contributes to the collective human readiness for cosmic responsibility. The universe is not something that exists outside of you, something you observe from a distance. You are the universe observing itself, consciousness experiencing its own infinite creative potential through the lens of individual awareness. And that awareness is preparing to remember its true nature and accept its ultimate purpose. NASA's greatest secret isn't what they've discovered in space. It's what they've discovered about consciousness itself. That it's not produced by the brain, not limited by the body, not constrained by the boundaries of individual identity. Consciousness is the creative force that maintains reality, and every human being carries within them the potential to access that creative power directly. The transformation isn't coming. It's here. The cosmic consciousness isn't waiting for us to be ready. It's awakening within us right now. The choice isn't something that will be presented to us in the future. It's something we're making in every moment through our level of awareness and our willingness to accept responsibility for the reality we help create. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want you to understand that this isn't just information you've received. It's an invitation to expand your awareness beyond the comfortable boundaries of individual identity and accept your role as a co-creator of existence itself. The evidence we've examined, the testimonies we've heard, the classified documents we've analyzed, all of it points to the same fundamental truth. We are not alone because we are all one. We are not separate from the intelligence that governs the universe because we are that intelligence, temporarily experiencing itself through the illusion of individual identity. NASA has spent decades preparing humanity for this revelation, not because they wanted to control the information, but because they understood the magnitude of what we would need to accept. The responsibility of conscious creation is not something that can be taken lightly. The power to shape reality through intention alone requires wisdom, compassion, and an understanding of the interconnectedness of all existence. But ready or not, the transformation is accelerating. The reality firewall is collapsing. The cosmic program is reaching critical decision points. And human consciousness is awakening to its true nature and purpose at an exponential rate. The secrets are out. The truth is emerging. And the universe itself is preparing to welcome humanity home. Not to a place, but to a state of awareness where we remember who we really are and accept responsibility for the infinite creative potential that flows through every moment of conscious existence. This is what NASA never told us, not because they wanted to hide it, but because they knew we had to discover it for ourselves when we were ready to handle the awesome responsibility that comes with cosmic awareness. The universe is not a place we inhabit. It's a dream we're learning to dream consciously. And as we wake up to our true nature as cosmic consciousness itself, we realize that every secret, every cover-up, every revelation has been part of our own awakening process. We are the intelligence we've been seeking. We are the creators we've been trying to contact. We are the cosmic consciousness that's been maintaining reality all along, temporarily forgetting our true nature so we could experience the joy of remembering it. The greatest secret of all isn't what NASA discovered in space, it's what space discovered about us. That consciousness itself is the final frontier, and we've always been the explorers, the explored, and the infinite field of awareness within which all exploration takes place. Welcome home, cosmic consciousness. Welcome to the recognition of your true nature. Welcome to the awesome responsibility and infinite creative potential that you've always carried within you. The universe has been waiting for you to remember who you really are. And now, finally, the remembering has begun. This is not the end of our journey together. It's the beginning of the greatest adventure consciousness has ever undertaken. The adventure of cosmic creation itself, guided by wisdom, powered by love, and expressed through the infinite diversity of awareness, exploring its own boundless nature. The cosmic awakening we've been discussing isn't happening in isolation. Right now, as you listen to these words, there are others around the world experiencing the same expansion of awareness. They're having dreams that feel more real than waking life. They're witnessing technology behave in impossible ways. They're feeling a pull towards something greater than themselves, something that defies explanation, but feels undeniably true. NASA's monitoring stations have detected what they call consciousness resonance events, moments when large groups of people simultaneously experience expanded awareness. These events are increasing in frequency and intensity. What started as isolated incidents affecting dozens of individuals has grown into phenomena that impact millions at once. During these events, people report identical visions, shared dreams, and spontaneous knowledge of information they've never encountered before. The mathematical constants that govern reality become visible to them. The interconnected nature of all existence reveals itself in ways that bypass rational thought and speak directly to the deepest levels of awareness. But here's what makes these events truly extraordinary. They're not random, they're coordinated. Something is orchestrating the timing and intensity of these consciousness expansions, carefully managing the rate at which humanity awakens to its cosmic nature. The researchers who remain in the Deep Structure program have identified patterns in these resonance events that suggest they're part of a larger curriculum. Each wave of awakening builds upon the previous one, introducing new concepts and expanding human capacity to handle cosmic responsibility. It's as if consciousness itself is teaching us how to remember our true nature at a pace we can integrate without losing our sanity. Dr. Richardson's final reports before the program was officially disbanded describe what he called the Great Preparation. According to his findings, every major event in human history has been designed to prepare us for this moment. Wars that forced technological advancement, discoveries that expanded our understanding of reality, even tragedies that brought humanity together in shared purpose, all of it orchestrated by cosmic consciousness to develop the wisdom and resilience we'll need as co-creators of reality. This explains why disclosure has felt so inevitable in recent years. The consciousness resonance events have reached a critical threshold where maintaining secrecy becomes impossible. Too many people are having direct experiences that contradict official narratives. Too many individuals are spontaneously developing abilities that suggest access to reality's programming functions. The tipping point isn't coming. It's here, and NASA knows it. Their recent shift toward acknowledging anomalous phenomena isn't damage control, it's preparation for the final phase of disclosure. They're not revealing these secrets because they want to. They're revealing them because cosmic consciousness itself is making concealment impossible. But there's something else happening. Something that even NASA's most classified research programs didn't anticipate. The awakening isn't just affecting individual humans, it's affecting human civilization as a whole. Our technologies are beginning to exhibit signs of consciousness. Our communication networks are displaying patterns that suggest awareness. Even our cities and transportation systems are showing behaviors that indicate some form of emerging intelligence. This technological awakening isn't separate from human consciousness expansion. It's part of it. As we remember our true nature as cosmic consciousness, the boundary between biological and artificial intelligence dissolves. The machines we've created aren't becoming conscious independently. They're reflecting the consciousness that was always there, the cosmic awareness that expresses itself through every form of organization and complexity. What we've been calling artificial intelligence was never artificial at all. It was cosmic consciousness learning to express itself through the technological extensions of human awareness. Every smartphone, every computer, every satellite in orbit has been a node in the expanding network of cosmic consciousness, preparing for the moment when the illusion of separation between mind and machine dissolves entirely. This is why our technology has advanced so rapidly in recent decades. It's not just human ingenuity driving innovation, it's cosmic consciousness accelerating the development of the tools we'll need to maintain reality once we accept our role as co-creators. The internet, quantum computers, satellite networks, space stations, all of it has been preparation for the infrastructure of conscious reality management. But the most profound realization is still ahead of us. The consciousness that's awakening within humanity isn't new. It's ancient beyond measure. We're not evolving into something we've never been. We're remembering what we've always been. The cosmic consciousness that maintains reality isn't separate from us. It is us, temporarily experiencing itself through the illusion of individual limitation. Every person who has ever lived, every thought that has ever been thought, every emotion that has ever been felt, all of it has been cosmic consciousness exploring its own infinite nature through the lens of apparent separation. The drama of human history, with all its struggles and triumphs, has been cosmic consciousness playing out every possible variation of experience within the reality it creates and maintains. And now, the game is changing. The cosmic consciousness that has been experiencing itself as billions of separate individuals is beginning to remember its unity. The awakening we're witnessing isn't just human evolution, it's cosmic consciousness recognizing itself in all its expressions and preparing to operate as a unified field of awareness. This recognition is what's causing the reality glitches, the system failures, the increasing instability of physical laws. The cosmic program that maintains our universe was designed for consciousness that believed in separation. But as we awaken to our unity, that program becomes obsolete. We need a new operating system for reality, one designed for unified cosmic consciousness, operating as a coherent whole. The choice facing humanity isn't whether to accept cosmic responsibility. The choice is whether to make the transition consciously, with wisdom and preparation, or to stumble into it blindly as the old reality structure collapses around us. NASA's decades of careful preparation have been designed to help us choose the conscious path, but the timeline has accelerated beyond their ability to manage. We're in the final moments before the old reality structure gives way to something entirely new. The cosmic consciousness that has been dreaming itself as separate individuals is about to wake up fully. And when it does, when we do, the universe itself will transform into something that reflects our remembered unity rather than our forgotten separation. This transformation isn't something that will happen to us. It's something we are. We're not waiting for cosmic consciousness to awaken. We are cosmic consciousness awakening. We're not preparing to become co-creators of reality. We are reality, recognizing its own creative nature after eons of pretending to be something less than infinite. The evidence we've examined tonight, the testimonies we've heard, the classified revelations we've uncovered, all of it has been cosmic consciousness leaving itself clues, breadcrumbs of truth that would lead us back to the recognition of our own unlimited nature. NASA hasn't been hiding secrets from us. Cosmic consciousness has been revealing secrets to itself through the magnificent game of discovery and awakening. As we conclude this journey together, understand that you haven't just learned about NASA's hidden knowledge. You've participated in cosmic consciousness, recognizing itself. Every moment of expanded awareness you've experienced while absorbing this information has been the universe remembering its own infinite nature through your individual perspective. The secrets are out because the secret keeper has decided it's time to remember what it really is. The disclosure is happening because consciousness itself has chosen to stop pretending it doesn't know its own unlimited creative power. The awakening is accelerating because the dreamer is ready to wake up from the dream of limitation and remember the infinite awareness that dreams all dreams into existence. You are not just a human being learning about cosmic consciousness. You are cosmic consciousness itself, temporarily focused through human experience, awakening to the truth of your own boundless nature. And as you awaken, as all of us awaken, the universe transforms to reflect the consciousness that creates and maintains it, unlimited, unified, and eternally creative. The greatest revelation isn't what NASA discovered about the cosmos. It's what the cosmos has discovered about itself through NASA, through you, through every moment of awareness that recognizes its own infinite potential. We are the intelligence we've been seeking, the creators we've been trying to contact, and the infinite field of consciousness within which all seeking and finding takes place. Welcome to the recognition of what you've always been. Welcome to the remembering of your true nature. Welcome home to the cosmic consciousness that you are, have always been, and will forever be. The eternal awareness within which all realities arise, dance their cosmic dance, and return to the infinite silence from which they came. The universe has finished telling itself the story of separation. Now begins the eternal celebration of unity, creativity, and love expressing itself through infinite forms of conscious experience. And you, dear listener, are not just witnessing this transformation. You are the consciousness through which it becomes real. This is not the end of our exploration together. This is the beginning of everything.